Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over some email etiquette. This is a skill that's going to be useful not only for this class, school, but to communicate once you get out into the professional world. Okay, so first off, walking you through this little slideshow here, an email is not a text message. Let's take a look at the two. So on the left-hand side over here, we have what an email is, and then over here on the right-hand side, we have what a text message is. So an email is a little bit more formal. We typically write our emails in letter format. When it comes to text messaging, it's a little more informal and a lack of format. So when you text, you can use abbreviated words and emojis and things like that. We don't tend to do that sort of thing in an email. However, where these two both come together is that they're both a form of written communication. It's hard to say that one is more right than the other. They just have different kind of uses. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be taking a look at is to. So I don't know how often you've sent emails since you've been in high school, but the to line is where you're going to put the person's email address in. So for example, if you were trying to contact me, an email to Mr. Grabbits asking to clarify a question about an assignment, then you would put my email address in the to bar. The next line that you're going to see is called the carbon copy line, and it's marked with a CC. And you may have seen this multiple times, and you're like, what is that line for? Well, carbon copy, what that used to be is if you've ever filled out a like important sheet that also had maybe a yellow sheet taped to the back of it and a pink one, and when you wrote in pencil, it copied your information to the following sheet. So you would get like 3 copies just for filling out one thing. So the carbon copy is that same kind of idea. You're just sending an additional copy to whoever else. So the example here says if you were emailing the athletic director with a question, then someone else who might want a copy of that could be the athletic director's secretary. So anyone else that you think might want a copy is whose email address you would put in the CC. The difference between addressing it to someone and to CC someone on it is usually you send it to the person it's supposed to go to. CC would just be like someone else who might benefit from the information, but they don't usually need to respond. Blind carbon copy is about the same thing. This line is marked with a BCC, and this is going to send a copy of the email to someone else, but it's going to hide their name from the email list. So if you're sending out an email to a lot of different people, maybe you're sending out to like 50 different people, and you don't want to share every single person's email address to everyone that gets the message, then you would put their information in the blind carbon copy so that you're not sharing everyone's information like that. The subject line. So when you go to send an email out, you give a subject for what the email is going to be about. So you want to make sure that you write a subject that is direct and clear. Especially, we get 100 emails a day. So you want the subject to really indicate what that message is about. So that way, if we go to search or something, it'll bring it up. So an example here says you might put thank you as the subject for an email thanking a former teacher. So if you had maybe Mrs. Lomas last year and she helped you out quite a bit and you wanted to thank her, then maybe you would make the title thank you. Salutations. So this is where you address your recipient with a formal greeting. So you start out an email formally, like hello, or good afternoon, or dear so-and-so. And you use the recipient's name with the greeting. For formal situations, you write the recipient's title and last name. You want to make sure that you use the proper title and spelling. So an example of this would be Dear Mrs. Smith, or Dear Mr. Grabbits, or hello, whoever you're sending your email to. When we email, we use block paragraph format, which means that we don't indent. You can literally picture it as being a block. It goes straight down on both sides. We use standard business English, and that is grammatically and mechanically correct, and we try to speak at a level that's appropriate. So you're in 10th grade, you should be writing when you send an email at a 10th grade level. This is a little bit different than text messaging. We're using full grammar, punctuation, everything. We are not using emojis, smiley faces, or slang. Now, that's not to say that these don't have a place in any email. If you're emailing your friends, by all means. If you're emailing someone that you're close to and you email often, then sure, you can use these things. But if you are emailing a teacher or somebody for the first time, you want to set that professional tone. Do not be using emojis and slang. You also want to avoid abbreviations and shorthand when possible. And then another thing that people often do in emails is they use a ton of exclamation marks or points. You don't need to do that. The period is fine. If you are truly excited, by all means, use the exclamation point. Last thing that we're going to take a look at, number 7 here, is closing. You use a formal closing. So for instance, when you're done at the end, you would put thank you and then your name. Or sincerely in your name, respectfully, best wishes, best regards, just like if it were a letter. And you follow that with a comma. So when you sign off, you write your first and last name to sign off. If applicable, write your title under your sign off. So especially if this is the beginning of the year, if you're emailing a teacher that you're not familiar with, you might want to leave what class that you're from. That way they have a better idea of who you are right now. So if your name was John Jones and you're messaging your second hour English teacher, that might be some information you want to include. Last few things to consider here. Beware of reply all. So let's say there is a long email thread and it's got 20 people on it, and you decide that you're going to say something like, well, the reason the project's not done is because so and so doesn't do their part of the job, and then you send that out to everyone. Well, now you've thrown someone under the bus publicly, and then B, that person's going to see what you said. So there's two options. You can click just reply to the one person, but if you click reply all, just know everyone that's on that thread is going to get it. You should always proofread before you send something out, right? Look for spelling errors, grammar errors. If you get interrupted, save that email. You can save it to your draft. And then on a second or third exchange, we talked about this. You don't always have to include hello, best wishes at the end. So if we've emailed each other like this, we're on our third email back and forth, you drop all of that kind of information. You just get straight to messaging each other. Next, what we're going to be doing is trying to appropriately respond to scenarios by sending out an email.